I'd like to see education free, universal medical care free. Everybody has a job, possibility of getting a job. That's what I'd like to see.
It's really inspiring to have people who have experienced World War II out here saying, wait a minute, no. I mean, as great it is to have the Vietnam vets here, to have people from World War II who come here, you know, at a great deal of, you know, effort and pain, it's even more inspirational. So I hope when I'm 75 or 80 or 85 or 90, I'm still doing this. I hope I don't have to do this. I hope we're done with this.
It's an honor to stand with Elmer and Phyllis.
Among all the varieties of people and different kinds of people who folk dance, they tend to be the kind who literally are following their own drummer. It's not mass popular culture, even though the dances come from folk cultures around the world. To do it now in America is not a real conformist thing to do. People do it because there's something in them that responds to it. A lot of the folk dancers that I know are pretty independent thinkers. Phyllis and Elmer are the most radical people that I know. Elmer is a member of the Veterans for Peace, and Phyllis belongs to the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, the Women Against Military Madness, and Code Pink.
We've been coming out here, Phyllis and Elmer and I, since the Yugoslavia War. A couple weeks after that, it was picked up on the Peace or the Lake Street Bridge.
This really goes back to when Clinton bombed Kosovo. I've been coming to this bridge ever since.
Elmer's my hero. He's 93. I'm going to be 70. He's still out here. When it's 10 or 20 below, he's out here.
They've been here in blizzards, worrying about how they're going to get home.
I moved to Minneapolis. They moved back to St. Paul. They still come back every Monday. How can I not?
I think, well, if they're here, damn it, I better be here.
And they stand for peace. And people at 93 are going to tolerate Minnesota weather in the middle of the winter and the heat of the summer to stand for peace on this bridge. I think I, at 75, better do the same.
I'm 84, but I have two people here that I can look up to for inspiration. And every week he waves his peace fingers at the crowd.
I grew up in a period which was very rough. The poverty that I went through, the realization that you had to do something. And that's, I think, what made me a radical.
Elmer Zoff was born in Amboy, Illinois in 1913, the sixth of 12 children. His father moved the family first to Winona, Minnesota, then to St. Paul in search of work.
Things were not much better there, and we just, all of us, took odd jobs and tried to keep the family alive. We were on welfare. We would go along the railroad tracks, pick up coal that fell from the coal cars and to keep warm. They thought we had tuberculosis, that's my brother and I, so they sent us to the sanitarium. But I really think that they sent us there because we didn't have enough food. They thought we were undernourished.
At age 17, Elmer discovered the Unitarian Society, and what he heard there made a lot of sense.
Under Dietrich, he was a minister, and he was a progressive liberal. He was concerned about worldly things rather than the emphasis on God or that so-called religion element.
Phyllis Church was born in St. Paul in 1920. Her father was a carpenter. When work became scarce, he did surveying with the WPA.
I learned early about the value of work, and I learned that I was going to have to, help because my dad couldn't carry it all.
Phyllis learned sewing and photography skills through the National Youth Administration Program and got a paying job grading papers at school. Her father exposed her to radical ideas.
Oh, my dad was pretty left-wing.
After high school, Elmer studied pre-med at the university, but he also followed union activities.
I was over in Minneapolis at the truck drivers' strike. It killed a couple of people. That's when it became so violent that Governor Olson called out the National Guard.
His political awareness grew.
I flirted with communism. I liked the idea. I never joined the party. It was in that period when it was acceptable to be a communist.
Phyllis and Elmer knew each other when she was in high school.
She was a girlfriend of my sister. We were both active against the war, even in the 30s. In fact, we were involved in burning silk stockings when the Japanese invaded China.
Unable to afford medical school, Elmer went to chiropractic college. In 1942, shortly after setting up his first practice, Elmer was drafted.
I handled the physical therapy department for the soldiers that were injured in the hospital, 60th Station Hospital. That was in Africa. We landed in Oran and then took the train to Tunis. And we set up the hospital in Tunis. And then we followed the 42nd Wing of Air Force to Sardinia, to Corsica, to Senigallia in Italy.
Elmer saw firsthand the effects of war.
I don't think that war has ever accomplished anything.
Meanwhile, at home, Phyllis worked in a war munitions plant.
I inspected 30 caliber machine gun bullets.
After the war, Elmer opened a chiropractic office. He and Phyllis both married other people and raised families. They both remained politically active.
I was at the golf club and they were having a party. I was opposed to the Korean War, and I got up and said something, and the whole group jumped on me. "You're a communist!" I had to keep quiet. I couldn't do anything.
They demonstrated for civil rights and against Vietnam.
We used to take part in citywide demonstrations for peace. You know, probably it goes back to the 60s and 50s.
After his wife died, Elmer contacted Phyllis, who was divorced. She took him folk dancing.
I called her one time and she said, "Well, I'm going to be out dancing over in Audubon. Come on over." So that started it.
They married in 1999. They went to Cuba together with Pastors for Peace.
They were short of supplies. Everybody brought something.
They remained committed to peace and justice, letting nothing get in their way.
Phyllis fainted because it was a real hot day and she needed water sample. It turned out she'd had a medical procedure that day, but she was still out here on the dam bridge.
They worked hard at whatever they do, if it's dancing or it's showing up regularly for their demonstrations, or they're very steady type people.
It's a question of conscience. Every little piece of sand, if you keep putting in the same piece after piece, maybe you can accomplish something, I hope. People call us names as we sit out and protest, call us communists and go back to Russia and get a job. They scratched up my car, half a dozen signs torn up. We had one case where he just got out of Bosnia and he took my sign and tore it up and threw it in the trash can. The police came. He said if I wanted to make a complaint, I said, well, he doesn't know any better.
You know, their values dictate their life, and they've lived it. And it just shows in their whole personality.
We hope we're accomplishing something. And we'll keep at it, no matter how long it takes.
You might think of the greatest generation as being unanimous. Well, of course it's not. I mean, when those people write about that, they don't seem to have Phyllis and Elmer in mind.
Mm-hmm. The greatest generation. Yeah. I don't know if there is such a thing as the greatest generation. They're all important, all of them. Every generation is important. They may have different agendas, but it's a struggle. and that each generation has to meet it.